Hey guys, so I'm following up about the video I had posted about a year ago about my partial thyroidectomy and my thyroid cancer. So some of you had requested that I follow up and tell you how I'm doing now, which I totally get because I felt the same way when I went into the process before the surgery. I was like, am I going to live past this? And it was helpful to like hear other people's stories. It kind of gave me encouragement, so hopefully I can give someone else encouragement by telling my story. But I'll get into it. So I'll start with how I felt after, like months after the surgery, because I never really followed up on that. I did immediately after the surgery, but months after the surgery. So I want to say I was okay for a little while. I did in the last video talk about the twinging feeling I had in my, or I called it a pulsating feeling in my fingers and in my hands, which I thought could have been related to low calcium levels. Even though my doctor told me I wasn't at risk for that because they didn't touch my parathyroid gland, which controls calcium levels, I still felt really concerned about it, and I hadn't gone for my follow-up blood work at that point because I was in nursing, well, yeah, I'm graduated now, but I was in nursing school at the time. And just, I had a lot of stuff going on in my life that it was really hard. I know it sounds so bad, especially being a nurse, but it was just a really rough time in my life. And to be able to follow up, I was working, I have 2 kids. Anyway, so I went to work one day, it was after Thanksgiving, and I had been feeling awful. I was having muscle cramps all over my body. I went to Walmart, actually it was Black Friday, I remember, and or maybe it was Thanksgiving Day because they were starting the Black Friday sales that day. And I went to Walmart and I walked in, and like, I swear it was the craziest feeling. My muscles like felt like they seized up, and I just like could not move. I freaked out, ran out of there. I do have a history of anxiety, so I didn't know if and panic attacks. So I didn't know if I was having a panic attack or what my issue was. I'm like really sensitive to caffeine, and I had had a coffee drink that day. I don't know why I did that to myself. I finally learned my lesson recently, but I'll tell that in another story. So anyway, I freaked out. I was really nervous. I felt terrible the whole day at Thanksgiving. Just my muscles hurt and my whole body was achy. And I was like, all right, well, like, let me just power through this and I'll go to work tomorrow. So I went into work, and all my muscles were aching still. I was tired and run down, and everything hurt like I had ran a marathon. So actually I was on an ICU floor that day, and the nurse, because I was a tech at the time, the nurse told me just to go down to the ER and get my labs drawn. She said, you don't want to mess around with that stuff. If any of your electrolytes are off, just you need to go get them checked. So I went down to the ER, and everything was totally normal, within range. Like, all my lab values came back within range. And they had done like a couple other tests to test for other issues I might be having, basically, and they couldn't find anything. And they told me to follow up with my endocrinologist or the surgeon, but basically anyone, about the issues I was having. They also recommended a neurologist to check for like things that could be related. I don't know, like maybe MS. They did one test for lupus, but they didn't check me for MS. So I guess that's why they wanted me to go to the neurologist to follow up. So I think I went through the winter, and I had gotten the appointment with the neurologist, and I was like in a really low slump at this point because I was going through this for like a few weeks. I couldn't get the neurologist appointment for like months from then. Like, I think it was going to be like April or March before I could see him, and at this point it was like December. So it was really just discouraging. I felt down in the dumps. I felt like, God, like, is there something really wrong with me? I kept going. I did go to my endocrinologist, and they kept telling me, no, this is nothing to do with your thyroid. They said I was slightly hypothyroid, based off of my TSH levels, which is thyroid stimulating hormone, which is normal after you have your thyroid removed. If you have a partial thyroidectomy, your body's going to continue to produce a thyroid stimulating hormone to try to ramp up the production of your, I think it's T4, I don't know, there's so many T's, but to basically ramp up the production of thyroid hormone. So they wanted to lower my TSH levels, even though my thyroid hormone level was actually normal without me even being on medication. They wanted my thyroid stimulating hormone to stop producing so much because they don't want your thyroid to grow back, or if there's thyroid cancer somewhere, for the thyroid cancer to continue to grow, which thyroid stimulating hormone could induce growth in thyroid cells, which could also be the cancer cells. So anyway, they did put me on the lowest dosage of thyroid hormone in hopes that my thyroid stimulating hormone would go down. But it was, I don't know. I don't know if I should have documented it better, but I don't know if I started seeing results immediately after I started taking the medication, but around the same time, because I was having so much muscle pain, I also started going to the chiropractor, because I have used chiropractors in the past for different muscle issues I've had just throughout my life. Nothing serious, but they've always actually helped me. I know people have mixed feelings about chiropractors, but they've always helped me. So I started going to a chiropractor on top of it. And actually, I know it sounds crazy, but I started feeling better like almost immediately after I started going to the chiropractor. Who knows? It could be psychological. But for me, it helped, and I just wanted to get out of the slump that I was in. I was in so much pain that I didn't care what I had to do to make myself feel better. I was going to do that. But I also had started on the thyroid hormone. It's Synthroid, or levothyroxine. It's basically a synthetic version of the thyroid hormone that your body produces. So I did start to feel better shortly after that. Like I want to say it was like almost immediate, and I felt like a relief come over me, like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm not dying. And actually I got so much better to the point where I actually did cancel the neurologist appointment. So I could get further into all the healthcare stuff that I've been going through, but I will mention all of it. It's nothing bad. But basically, I changed my diet around the same time because I had been wanting to, and I just hadn't at that point. So I started eating, trying to eat close to a keto diet, because I had watched a couple documentaries and I had read about it, like things to do to prevent neurological issues, actually. And I just wanted to make myself feel better. It's also, if you look into it, there's thoughts that the keto diet can prevent cancer, and actually I think that's actually agreed upon in the medical community also, which is actually pretty shocking. Like it's considered a cancer reducing diet, or like something. Basically it also can be used to prevent heart disease. So the keto diet is great if you do it right. But I watched the documentary, 2 of them I watched. The first one I watched was oh geez, I know the one was Magic Pill and the second one was Heal. And both of them talk about recovering from diseases that by the medical community are considered non-curable. So they really inspire me. And Heal was amazing because it does talk about spiritual healing, which is something that the medical community doesn't talk about. But I really believe that your spirit is part of your body, and most people, even if you're not religious, you can maybe agree that psychologically your state of mind has a lot to do with how your body handles things. So, and it has been proven in studies that like people who are more religious or have positive attitudes actually have better outcomes, or strong family ties tend to have better outcomes than people who maybe don't. or even long-lasting marriages. That's another example. But anyway, so I really put a lot of stock in that. I really do believe that there are ways to heal your body other than taking a pill or maybe going through chemotherapy. Not to be controversial, but that's my beliefs. And so I did start doing some of those things. Like I didn't do anything extreme with like spiritual healing, but I definitely believe in it. And in the future, when I have more money, I want to do it. But basically, after this whole thing that I went through, I started feeling really good. I was taking care of myself. I was, like I started doing my hair, whereas for a long time I wouldn't even like do my hair. My hair would be wet all the time and in a bun. Like I would basically shower, put my hair up in a bun, and I was done for the day. And I started taking care of myself. I started doing things that I liked, which is hard because we have very little money right now. But I started taking care of myself, and it made me, I mean, I don't know what part of this made me feel better, but all of my symptoms, like the muscle aches, like I was almost to the point where I had gone with it for so long. I think I didn't start going to the chiropractor until like January or February. And I literally had muscle aches all the way from Thanksgiving till that point. And I got to the point where I really thought, like, is this the end for me? Like, am I dying? Do I have ALS? Because I was in so much pain and was like weak, and it was not getting any better. So when I went to the chiropractor, he definitely said he thought it was something with my thyroid. He said he's seen it before many times where women have these procedures, or they have some type of issue with their thyroid, and the doctors don't catch it, don't catch it, don't catch it. And then finally, on like the 8th time following up with the doctor, they say, oh yeah, we see something in your lab work. But he said for some reason, he's just noticed that we will have symptoms that won't show up as, I guess, a critical lab, or a lab that like flags the doctors that you're hypothyroid or maybe calcium deficient. So whatever. He recommended I start drinking coconut water because there's nothing that it can do to hurt you, and it's full of electrolytes. So I did start doing that the same day I went, because I just wanted to feel better. So I was like, I'll do whatever he wants me to do. So I did do that, and actually, I mean, that could have been part of the reason I started feeling better. I don't know if it's because he told me like, hey, you don't have ALS, like you don't seem like your symptoms match up with that. He said, I think you're under a lot of stress right now, and I think that has a lot to do with it. So I mean, maybe it was just, I don't want to say all in my head, but who knows? I mean, maybe it was partial, like maybe depression body aches and tension body aches from anxiety. So, I mean, I had considered that also. I don't know, but I started feeling better, and that was what made me feel good. I still had continued following up with the doctors. So by the point, once I was done with the chiropractor, I think it was coming close. It was the end of March, coming close to April. And it's ironic the way it all worked out, but basically I wasn't even with him very long, and I had felt like a whole new person. And every time I came in, I think he was like so impressed that I had changed so much from the first time I had gone in. And it just made such a big difference in my life. Now, after that, after I stopped going to the chiropractor, I was feeling good, but I think, I'm trying to think of the order in which to tell this story. I'm sorry. But basically what happened was, me and my husband were under a lot of financial stress with me not working. He's the only one working. He doesn't get health care through his job. So basically what happened was, we lost our health insurance through the marketplace, because that's what we had to go through to get health insurance in the first place, because like I said, his employer doesn't offer it. So we had been using the marketplace. We missed a month, and they canceled our insurance for non-payment. So basically I went back and tried to rectify it and get a special enrollment period, and I couldn't. So we've been going without health insurance basically up until this point. I still have to take my NCLEX to become registered as a nurse. So basically we're just hanging on, waiting until I can get a job to get health insurance. So it's really been a nightmare. But a little more to that story. I don't want to go on too long for this video. I mean, I could probably make another video about it, but I had gotten pregnant we found out in April that I was pregnant. And I don't know if it's because I was taking care of myself and feeling good and oh gosh, I don't know, but I ended up pregnant and then realizing afterwards that I didn't have the health insurance. So it was really, really tough. And unfortunately, I ended up miscarrying last week. But I did go to the ER in the meantime because going back to the coffee story, I had decided to have to treat myself to Starbucks Frappuccino that I really like. And the same day I started having heart palpitations, like really bad. And I know, like for something cardiac, you should go to the hospital. You shouldn't mess around. And I have 2 kids already, and I don't want to put myself at risk of not being around for them, even though I don't have the health insurance. I'm like, I have to do something. So I went to the ER and told the doctors my situation. And I had what are called PVCs, which are not that big of a deal. It could be triggered by lots of different things. One of them being drinking coffee, another could be being pregnant. So it made sense, but they ended up going away once I got to the ER, of course. But when I went in and I told the doctors that I was pregnant and I hadn't had any prenatal care, which I understand the risks and I totally know. Being in nursing school, like I understand that you need prenatal care, it is important, but I also kind of knew like some of the risks involved with the first trimester of pregnancy. And I also have 2 other kids that I know sometimes they don't even see you until you're 8 to 12 weeks pregnant, and I wasn't up to that point yet. So when I'm talking to the doctors, they're kind of like shaming me for for not getting prenatal care, and I'm explaining to them like, listen, this is my situation. It's not like I'm the scum of the earth, like trying to, mooch off the system. It's just, I don't know what else to do. Like, we're in this tough spot right now. Anyway, so they did the ultrasound while I was there just to bundle it all into one appointment. And the baby at that point was only measuring 6 weeks when I thought I would have been further along. And so at that point, I knew the doctors didn't say that they thought anything was wrong. They told me to try to follow up and get health care somewhere, which I did and couldn't find anywhere. But basically, the ultrasound showed that the baby was only 6 weeks, and I knew I should have been further along at that point. So, so anyway, I never was able to go back to get the prenatal care anywhere because I had been trying to find it, and no one wants to work, like doctors' offices don't want to work with people without insurance, and the clinics are like open on Saturdays, and I'm pretty sure they don't specialize in prenatal care. So I don't know. Anyway, it all happened so quickly after the emergency room appointment. I had a feeling and I was spotting every once in a while, and then finally last week I was bleeding and I did pass the baby. It was actually very traumatic. I might make a separate video about that because that's not what you guys are here for. But anyway, my whole point going back to the pregnancy and that I lost the pregnancy, I feel really guilty because I also feel like it could be because I didn't have enough thyroid hormone. When I went to the ER, they did say I was high on my thyroid stimulating hormones still, even though I'm still taking my medication. So I just think maybe my body was trying to keep up with the hormone production, and it couldn't because your body does need more thyroid hormone when you're pregnant. So, I mean, I feel like and I know a lot of women blame themselves for miscarriages. It could have been unrelated, but I don't know because I can't even go to the doctor, and it's a really horrible situation to be in. Not to give myself a pity party, because obviously, we have a part in everything that goes on in our lives, and I don't want to pass the buck, but basically it's just been a tough situation that we've been in. So, anyway, that's the story about my thyroid. So they still want me to go back. The last I went to follow up with the doctors, they still want me to go back and have the other half removed because they did find trace like really small amounts of it in lymph nodes that were attached to my thyroid. But I still don't think I would want to do it because look at the situation I'm in now where I don't have health insurance. So God forbid I had this removed and then I have to go back to the doctors to follow up with something. I mean, hopefully in the future I'm never in the situation where I don't have health insurance again, but you don't know. I mean, you really never know. So that's part of the reason I was already hesitant to have my thyroid, the full thing removed, was because I didn't want to be dependent, like medically completely dependent on doctors and needing a medication. So in that sense, I'm grateful. And I still in the future want to try more holistic things. Obviously, I haven't stuck to my diet with the keto diet because I'm still chunky. You can tell I was losing weight for a while, but the pregnancy thing kind of threw everything off for me. And that started in April. So I was doing really good. I was losing weight, and then I found out I was pregnant, and I think I just kind of got stressed out. I had finals with school and threw everything off. So now I'm kind of back in a little bit of a debacle, not kind of with my thyroid, but not as much as it was back in the winter time. I felt like I was really struggling in the winter, and I think emotionally right now going through a rough time, but it's definitely nowhere near as physical as it was back in December. So if you are having any symptoms like I was having, it could be related to your thyroid. I mean, the doctors will always tell you what they're seeing, and they're just giving you their best expert opinion, but I'm still not fully convinced that it wasn't due to my thyroid or some kind of electrolyte imbalance, which I mean could have been unrelated to my thyroid. But when I started kind of taking care of my body, I did feel better. So that's the best thing I could say for you is if you're going through something, do your best. That's all we all can do. And just keep trucking, but definitely consider diet changes. Don't discount that because, I mean, yes, there's not been a lot of medical research into that. I mean, and you can mention it to your doctor. They might poo-poo the idea because that's what my doctors did, which is really ridiculous. Anyone should be able to eat healthy and not be like frowned upon by the doctors. They'll say it's good to eat healthy, but if you talk about like the keto diet or, and it, you know, there are some concerns, like if you're going, I think, without any carbohydrates, which I think you could still incorporate any kind of veggies, and those are all good for you, and they're carbohydrates. So I don't know. I know there's so much controversy, but if you look into it, there's actually a lot of people that say the keto diet has actually cured some of their diseases that people have said could not even be cured. But believe what you want to believe. You don't have to listen to me. I'm not the authority, obviously, but that's just what I believe and what I want to do going forward with treating the issues I've had with my thyroid. So I'll make another video, I think, about the pregnancy thing, but sorry if that was long. It was long. It was 22 minutes so far, but basically, that was what happened up until this point. And as short as I think I could make it, maybe I'm blabbering, but anyway. If you have any questions, let me know. If you want me to elaborate on anything, definitely let me know. But yeah, the two videos that really I felt were inspirational to me were Heal, and I think it was Netflix or Prime, but I'm pretty sure it was Netflix, Heal and The Magic Pill. So I'd recommend them, and good luck. I mean, so many of you guys have commented about your thyroid issues, and I like, oh gosh, my heart breaks every time I read someone say like, oh, I have to go for surgery and I'm so scared, because I went through that and I remember how scared I was. It was like, especially, not that it's not scary for anyone, it doesn't matter what you have going on in your life, if you don't have kids, if you do, if you're older, if you're young. I mean, it's really scary because even though people will tell you, oh, it's got good outcomes and good prognosis, it's still like things can go wrong in surgery, and nobody can ever deny that. But thankfully, it's lower risk, I guess. But my heart breaks every time someone comments, because I'm like, I just hate to hear that someone has to go through that. And the one thing I can say is that I really do wish you all the best, and pray that nothing happens to any of you with the thyroid cancer, and that it just becomes part of your past, like it does for me. I hope and wish for you all the same things that I hope for myself. But no, I guess we're all kind of in it together, and that we're not alone, and I'm still here, so I guess that's a good sign. I had a whole extra year to my life. Hopefully many, many more. So I'll make another video, I think, about the pregnancy, and then just more spiritual things that I went through, and what I want to go through, I guess, with some spiritual healing that I am totally interested in. So I'll catch you in the next video. Bye, guys.